I buy property in South Africa, whether as a resident or a non-resident, am I going to end up with a title deed, or am I going to end up with a long-term lease that's registered at the deeds office? That's a very important question that I think most people who buy property in South Africa do not answer before they sign an agreement to purchase property. It's very important for you to understand what is the difference between a title deed versus a 99-year lease or even a 10-year leasehold. It's important because insofar as your rights are concerned, there are limitations depending on which one you will have signed. Now, most people who buy real estate in South Africa typically deal with real estate agents who are supposed to tell you what you are getting yourself into, but unfortunately it is not always the case. We have dealt with situations at our law firm where people bought real estate thinking they were going to end up with a title deed, only to find that no, they're ending up with a leasehold right, which means it's contained in a lease agreement that is registered at the deeds office against the title deed. In that situation, it doesn't mean you don't have rights, but you need to understand that the rights that you have are limited real rights. There is somebody that is an owner by virtue of a title deed, and you have limited real rights by virtue of your leasehold. So you need to understand before you actually enter into that agreement, you need to understand what the limitations are. What are the things you need to think about as somebody that's about to buy, for instance, in an estate where there is a 99-year lease that's going to be entered into between yourself and the landlord, and maybe the person that's selling to you, because there can be three parties in that situation. Versus what will happen if I'm buying land that is owned by the person that's selling it to me and I end up with a title deed. What does that mean for my rights? Very important questions to answer, and we find that most people who are buying property in South Africa are clueless about even the contract review that needs to happen before you sign that agreement to agree to the terms. And I'll just give you a few examples of why it is important to have a contract review before you sign that offer to purchase property. Number one, there is structure. Depending on what name you put down on the offer to purchase, if you're putting the name of your company versus putting your own personal name, there are going to be tax implications. The amount of tax you are going to pay versus what your company is going to pay, two different things, depending also on the intended use of the property. Are you buying this property as an investment property, or are you buying this property as your primary residence? Another thing that you need to think about as somebody planning to buy property in South Africa is that you need to think about all the clauses in the contract. There's multiple clauses, and depending on whether you're going to acquire ownership, you can be confronted with clauses such as the footstoots clause, which we, when representing buyers, we like to explain that so the buyer can understand that the footstoots clause is actually not good for you as the buyer, because it entails that you are buying the property as is, which is never safe, of course, because what if there's a latent defect, meaning a hidden defect in the property that is only going to be uncovered after the title deed has been registered and the property is now in your name? What is going to happen with that defect? And then also in a situation where there's a leasehold, a review is very important, because you need to understand what happens after the end of the 99 years, because they tell you when you are buying, most clients are told, and they approach us after they've already signed, but in the process they are told, don't worry, you are going to have full control of the property, it's going to be yours and you can pass it down from generation to generation. But what they are not told is that when you need to transact or when you need to transfer that property, there are some costs that are typically not going to be applicable if you have a title deed to that land, but are applicable to you because you are a leasehold, you have leasehold rights in that property. So some of these examples I can give you. We have an estate in Johannesburg. It's called Waterfall. Everyone who buys in that estate signs a 99-year lease. What most of these people don't know, and some of them are even our clients, unfortunately, after having signed, they don't understand some of the things. They come to us asking us to explain some of these things and the consequences of those leases, because unfortunately, when dealing with somebody that's assisting you, like a realtor, who is not telling you everything that you need to know, you find out later that by buying that property, you are effectively agreeing to the terms of the existing lease between the Waterfall estate and the current lease lessee. That would be the leasehold rights, the leasehold right owner, or rather the one who has those the right to the lease. So it's important for you to understand that. What does it mean when the 99 years are over? What is going to happen when the 99 years need to be extended? Who extends them? At what cost? Everything has financial implications. There's a 3.5% fee that is payable each and every time you want to cede those rights from yourself into another person's name. And they say that the 3.5% is payable based on fair market value of the property. So what happens after 99 years when a property you bought in 2022 is now, you bought for 20 million in 2022, after 100 years or 99 years is now over 100 million. What happens to, what is 3.5% of 100 million? So those are some of the things you need to understand. And what we do at LCA is we are a law firm that helps buyers. We are for the buyer's interest. We help buyers protect their interest when buying property in South Africa. We do so with tax and estate plan integration. So if you are in the process of buying property in South Africa, this is what we do. This is what we specialize in. You are invited for a free consultation so we can help you make or identify some of the things you need to be mindful of. And if you are not yet there, but this is something that you find valuable, feel free to sign up, subscribe to one of our newsletters. To sign up and subscribe to our channel, and also sign up to receive informative emails from us. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.